You're watching the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. Today, a Jay, Oklahoma man pleads guilty to second-degree murder for killing his mother.
It's not only the clouds, but also the cold that dominate our Friday morning, including a freeze warning on the horizon. We'll have the latest from the Skywatch Weather Center.
And we all know springtime brings severe weather to the 4 states. Kansas got a dose of that yesterday with winds strong enough to turn semi-trucks on their side. All that and more coming up.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Thanks for joining us for the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. I'm Tanya Bach. The Pittsburgh Police Department needs the public's help finding a suspect wanted on multiple felony warrants. Authorities say Belinda Sue Cameron is wanted in Crawford County for aggravated endangering a child, driving under the influence, battery, and interference with law enforcement. In Bourbon County, she's wanted for aggravated robbery and aggravated battery. She is not believed to be armed and dangerous. Still, law enforcement officials say you should contact them immediately if you see her. A Jay, Oklahoma man pleads guilty to killing his mother and wounding a second victim. 42-year-old Christopher Wheely Thursday pled guilty to second-degree murder in Indian country and assault with intent to murder in Indian country. Authorities say Wheely admitted to shooting and killing his mother, Annie Marie Wheely, in March of last year. He also admitted to shooting another family member 2 times, but that person survived. Missouri's GOP-led House is advancing a state spending plan for the upcoming budget year. House lawmakers fine-tuned the budget, which still needs several votes of approval to move to the Senate. Democrats say Republicans are being too stingy in spending billions of dollars in federal funding, but Republicans say they're trying to be cautious in deciding how to allocate a massive amount of aid. One point of debate is over teacher raises, which Governor Mike Parson and Democrats want, but so far the House has not included money for that in the budget. The chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, General Mark Milley, told Congress a diplomatic end to the war in Ukraine does not look like it's on the horizon. The U.S., United Nations, and European Union each took steps yesterday to further punish Russia economically for its invasion. Laura Podesta is outside the UN in New York, where a historic step was taken yesterday against Russia.
As horrific images continue to come out of Ukraine, the West escalated its pressure on Moscow Thursday.
The yeas are 413.
Congress voted to suspend normal trade relations with Russia and ban energy imports, reinforcing executive actions taken by President Biden.
Adopted.
The European Union approved a plan to phase out Russian coal. And at the United Nations, the General Assembly suspended Russia from its Human Rights Council.
Russia is not only committing human rights violations, it is shaking the underpinnings of international peace and security.
The U.S.-led resolution passed 93-24. It makes Russia the first permanent member of the UN Security Council to have its membership revoked from any UN body. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky welcomed the move, but reiterated more needs to be done.
Ukraine needs weapons, which will allow us to win on the battlefield, Zelensky said in his nightly address. And he said the atrocities in the Kyiv suburb of Borodyanka are worse than what happened in Bucha.
There are many more towns Russia has occupied and more towns it is still occupying. Places where we must assume Russian soldiers are committing more atrocities right now.
Zelensky warned Russian propaganda may be staging scenes in Mariupol to blame on Ukrainian forces. Laura Podesta, CBS News.
According to German magazine Der Spiegel, German intelligence intercepted radio exchanges between Russian soldiers who discuss killing civilians outside Kyiv, providing perhaps more evidence of war crimes. Ukrainian officials say more than 300 people were killed by Russian forces in Bucha alone. Russia claims the allegations are a setup to justify Western sanctions. One local police department can now buy new vehicles thanks to a generous donation. On Thursday, the Wyandotte Nation donated $40,000 to the Seneca Police Department. Officers are currently driving older cars, some of which have some damage, including bullet holes. Another one of the patrol cars was recently totaled during a chase. Now the department will be able to get 2 new vehicles.
It's wonderful. I mean, we work with the Wyandotte Nation on a daily basis as far as police activity.
They follow up with stuff. We follow up with them on both sides of the fence. I mean, we work together constantly. We're right here. It's no different than any other metro area, so to speak. We touch each other's jurisdiction.
The check presentation was held at the Wyandotte Nation Administration Building. Seneca police expect to get the new vehicles within the next 2 weeks. Well, as fast as babies grow, their clothing doesn't stick around for long, but what if you could just toss that outgrown onesie in the compost? Okay, with H&M's new line of baby clothing for newborns, you can. The clothes are made from organic cotton and they're 100% biodegradable. So there's no buttons or metal trim, and even the pigments used to print the design is biodegradable. There are 12 pieces to choose from and they'll be on sale in May. The new line is just one of a number of ways the company is working to make fashion more sustainable and keep clothing out of landfills. I'm just hoping that they've been tested with substances that would be involved in a baby blowout, and that didn't start the biodegrading process early.
Okay, no, it's a very good point. Folks, when I have this look of disdain on me, it's certainly not directed at Tanya in any form or fashion. It's more so, how about families that depend on the donations of other families after their children outgrow those clothes?
I have never once thrown a clothing
That's
item.
what I found. Yeah,
unless
I'm with
it was
you.
like definitely not baby clothes, because they grow out of them
Somebody
so fast.
else can use it.
They're in good condition. They're always in good condition.
Right.
Like some people sell them, some people donate them, but there's always a market for these for someone.
I would rather have another baby benefit from my kids outgrowing theirs than worry about what my rose garden looks like when I compost.
Plus, once clothing, once kids get a little older, they stop growing out of their clothes, they wear them out because they're play clothes.
That's different.
And whatnot.
That's different. We're specifically talking about these.
But still, those clothing don't need to go to the landfill either.
No.
They can go to the recycling center.
Right.
There's a place for them too.
Absolutely. So, while I find it interesting that science is headed that way, sometimes Tanya and I like to throw the practical aspect of it and find other ways to actually help people. Mm-hmm. All right, Tanya, outside of Television City right now, you see just a sliver, and I would say that's the definition of a sliver of blue sky, and we're going to have mostly cloudy conditions all morning long. Over 7th and Rangeline, 40 degrees right now. Look at that wind chill dropping down to 29 degrees. These are actual temperatures. We're a far cry above the freezing mark, but with the northwest wind coming in at 20 miles per hour, grab the jacket. We saw some rain over 7th and Rangeline. We're now seeing that move in between Neosho and Monette down to Cassville. So that's going to linger around for probably the next 20-30 minutes. And yes, we did see some snowflakes pass our traffic cameras up there in the Kansas City area and just south on 49 and a little bit there on 35. Now, it's not going to be able to stick around, that's for sure. Not hampering any travel conditions whatsoever. Later on this afternoon, because of the lack of sun and the growing clouds, only going to make it up into the high 40s. And don't forget, overnight, and we'll break this down here when we come back in just a little bit, overnight, we've got freeze warnings. That's right, April 8th and the 9th, freeze warnings. And then 60s on Saturday and 80s on Sunday.
Yeah, wow.
You factor in the wind chill. Let's factor in the wind chill and then the actual temperature. From Friday night, I think we'll see some that'll drop as low as 22. So about a 56-degree difference from what it will feel like early Saturday morning to where we'll be at our peak Sunday afternoon. That's something else.
Impressive. Oh.
I was told there would be no math involved.
Minimal. Addition, subtraction.
Carry the 1, divide by pi.
Stuff we learn in
Pi.
2nd grade, maybe.
Blueberry pie. Do you like blueberry pie?
I do.
Any day is a good day for blueberry pie.
As Michael would say, blueberry! That was for you. Up next, one research team says they were able to restore some old skin cells, turning the clock back almost 30 years. And later, we'll introduce you to a Western Michigan student who holds the world record for longest paper airplane flight. You don't want to miss this. You're watching the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. New research uncovers a possible fountain of youth for skin. And there's a concerning new study about how often breast cancer survivors are getting treatment. Here's the story.
New research out of University of Washington shows only 57% of breast cancer survivors ages 40 to 49 got annual mammograms in 2016. That's down from 70% in 2004 through 2009. The rate was also lower for survivors ages 50 to 64, though the change was not as dramatic. An English research team was able to partly restore older skin cells, turning back the clock as much as 30 years. The new method, which is the same way scientists make stem cells, reprogram the cells but still allow them to retain their function. The research could potentially reduce the effects of aging, but scientists are still in the early stages of understanding the transformation. And a new study from Brigham and Women's Hospital finds taking abortion pills is safe, even if an ectopic pregnancy is not yet ruled out. That's when a fertilized egg implants outside the uterus. Researchers found no evidence of an increase in serious problems or emergency room visits for those who took the pills early. Those are some of the day's top health stories. Elise Preston, CBS News, New York.
Well, in honor of National Zoo Lovers Day, take a look at this. Boona, the Goodfellows tree kangaroo, munched on a boiled egg at the Adelaide Zoo in Australia. I've been waiting. Okay. Look at this little guy, this tree kangaroo right here, and think of Splinter from the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Do you see a resemblance? Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. So the zoo says that she also loves bananas and eats them entirely, including the pills. She does not need a robot to open them for her. She can take care of that herself, and prefers to eat the peel anyway. Goodfellow tree kangaroos live in trees and are distant relatives of kangaroos and wallabies. Species is classified by the International Union for the Conservation of Nature as endangered in the wild due to overhunting and loss of habitat. And I do think that this little guy would like the pimento cheese deviled eggs that we're going to be making today at noon.
Pimento cheese sandwich is also big at Augusta National Golf Course. So this is one of the things that I point out with wild, and I understand the importance of zoos, and I appreciate what zoos can mean to human beings as far as our knowledge of animals. But the animals are out in the wild for a reason, for survival. Look at the claws on that thing!
To better
peel
his banana with.
It's just one of those that you go, oh, how cute, cuddly, and adorable, and then I just want to emphasize, there's a reason those claws exist. Holy cow.
Protection.
Not for eating deviled eggs. I promise you that. Hey, you want to see a cool shot of Mother Nature?
Ooh.
Isn't that neat?
Check out the cloudscape.
Well, you know, and we've got the ability here, so since it's live television, why don't we do this? Let's see what we got here. Oh, did you see the dust particles? Look at that. Isn't that neat? I think that is just gorgeous right there. That's a good way to end the old work week of school. Now, with that being said, I do want to remind everybody, it's chilly outside, 40 degrees right now, with a wind chill of only 29 over Joplin, 7th and Range Line, gusting up to 37 miles per hour. We actually do not have any wind advisories in effect. What we do have in effect is a freeze warning. And here's why. As we drop down tonight, look at where our wind chills are going to go. We're going to be easily in the 30s, if not the 20s. Widespread frost for tonight into the weekend. But just wait until Saturday afternoon, and it will be a thing of the past, as we'll have the 60s on Saturday and close to 80s on Sunday. We just had a marvelous flock of birds fly past the tower cam there. I'll try to get them back on camera when we have more KOAM morning news on Fox 14 right after this. Dangerous winds tore through parts of the Midwest all throughout Wednesday and Thursday. In Kansas, they were so strong, semi-trucks knocked over. Kansas Highway Patrol encouraging all drivers to evaluate the weather before getting on the road. That's why we try to bring you this each and every morning. Maeve Ashbrook with the story.
It's absolutely horrible. You can't go very fast. That high winds, it'll tip you over. It'll tip us over real easily.
Anthony Cross has been driving trucks across the country for 16 years, but it's the Kansas wind that has him stopped at this truck stop Thursday.
It's too dangerous. So you get some drivers that, it's on them. If they want to go, they can go.
He's trying to avoid a situation like this. Just a few miles away, this truck was blocking part of I-70 after strong winds toppled it.
It's going to be the first of what will more than likely be many of these taking place for the rest of the day because winds are picking up.
In western Kansas, another rollover closed part of the same highway.
If you're in something big, to really evaluate should you be driving. I mean, there's a chance you might get pushed off the roadway.
Trooper Ben Gardner with the Kansas Highway Patrol says all drivers should be extra careful, especially on highways that run east and west.
For 2022, this is probably the start of the wind season for what we've experienced. So it's just a subtle reminder, or maybe even a strong reminder, that motorists need to be planning ahead, be weather aware.
He says if you have to drive, focus on what you can control, like wearing your seatbelt.
You can't control the weather, you can't control other vehicles, you can't control other drivers. So be mindful of what you are doing in your vehicle is very, very important.
As for Cross, he says he's staying put until this weather calms down.
If you don't feel safe, shut it down. That's it. No load is risk your life. It's not worth it.
Luckily, Highway Patrol says no one was hurt in the rollover crash. Let's go ahead and pick up our wind gust tracker that we see for our Friday morning as it works in from the west-northwest once again. I'm going to want to update that one in Martin, Johnson, and Chanute. I find that data hard to believe right there because it's always been between 20 and 30 miles an hour this morning. And since it whips in from the northwest, you take these temperatures right here and go ahead and minus 7, 8, if not 9 degrees as far as what it feels like. Our actual temperatures, though, are able to stay above the freezing mark. We've got a really interesting site here over 7th and Range Line. That's a little bit facing down to the south-southwest, but then as we rotate off here to the west, look kind of down 66 toward Galena, it's really kind of a beautiful site. Right over across from the mall right there. Not a whole lot of sunshine, but still pretty interesting when you get that break in the cloud cover, especially when you're right at sunrise. We are going to have a chilly one today with combo of the clouds not really helping us out and the northwest wind just not giving up. That's another key factor. We'll be around 48, 49, maybe a 50. Not widespread 50s, that is for sure. And then overnight, if you have plants outside, we've been harping on this all week. If you have them outside and they've made it so far, well, we're going to get widespread frost. And if you think they're going to make it through one more night, well, how about this? We've got freeze warnings now in effect all the way until Saturday. In the mid-60s. Overnight low between Saturday and Sunday back up into the 50s. Overnight low between Saturday and Sunday warmer than what it will be this afternoon. And then Sunday. Be back before KOAM Morning News on Fox 14 right after this.
It's time to honor today's four-state hero, Clyde Harrington. Specialist Corporal Clyde Harrington served in the Marines from 1983 to 1987. He served in Cuba in '85 and then in Japan in 1986. He was part of the 8th Engineers and the 9th Engineers. During his service, he earned the Good Conduct Medal and the Overseas Medal. His hometown, Neosho, Missouri. We thank you, today's four-state hero, Clyde Harrington. Well, he doesn't have his wings yet, but a Western Michigan University student is taking off in the world of paper airplanes. Now, with a record-setting throw, he's now a national winner and off to an even bigger competition. Meteorologist Will Hayna shares some of his tricks for creating the perfect paper plane.
Make each fold as exact as you can.
The art of crafting the perfect paper airplane.
I got into origami as a kid,
so
that definitely plays a factor in, folding paper like this.
It doesn't hurt that he's an aviation student at WMU. A pilot in training, Evan Cooper flies real planes in the sky. 3 weeks ago, he stumbled into a paper airplane contest on campus. He folded up a piece of paper, gave it a throw, and to his surprise, won. It landed him a spot in the national competition this past weekend.
I threw it as hard as I could, and I don't know what happened. Luck was on my side. It went up perfectly. It crested perfectly and stayed up for 14 seconds.
14.06 seconds to be exact, setting a new national record. Competing in the airtime competition, his goal is to keep the plane in the air as long as possible. Next up, the Red Bull Paper Wings Worldwide Competition.
You're going to get flown to throw a paper airplane, like they're really paying for that? I was like, yeah, like this is a legit thing.
When he called his friends to share the news, they didn't believe him.
When I told him I won, it was just, no way, like, you're kidding me, they're like, you're joking right now. And I was like, yeah, no, like, this is real. I don't know how I did it, but I got it done, I guess.
Cooper flies to Austria next month to compete in Red Bull's World Final.
To sponsor some college kid to go throw a paper airplane in Austria, I mean, I am beyond thankful for that opportunity.
A newfound skill that's now taking the college junior off on a journey across the globe.
Good skills to have, knowing how to build the right paper airplane. The trip will be Cooper's first time out of the country. Congratulations to him and good luck. Another half hour of news and weather is just ahead. Coming up on the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14, the Joplin High School Theater Department swims back into our studio to talk about the latest production of The Little Mermaid. And we've got your two favorite things today in Game On: Star Wars and Legos. Stick around for that. You're watching the KOAM Morning News. They're mine, Michael. Maybe not yours, but my two favorite things. We'll be right back.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Welcome back to the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. It's currently 7:30. We take a look at today's top stories. Fun fundraiser Thursday night for Joplin's Lafayette House. It happened at the Downstream Casino Resort and included dinner, silent auction for new and gently used handbags, and a fashion show by local boutiques.
Our annual fundraiser, it's called Ooh La Lafayette, and this is a silent auction with purses that are donated from local boutiques, local individuals, and used bags that are also donated from people within our community.
All proceeds from the event are going to the Lafayette House, which helps survivors of domestic violence and sexual assault. On Thursday, Northeastern Oklahoma A&M celebrated the school's founding. The college's annual Founders Day is a chance for staff and students to remember the school's 103-year history. Officials also use it to announce new projects by awarding the Mabin Award, named after James Mabin, the school's founder. This year, the award was given to the school's library to fund new furniture and charging ports for students.
So anybody on this campus has the opportunity to submit an application. And so we take those applications from all across campus for anybody that submits those. And today our award winner is going to impact students.
Same. This year the award was given to the school's library to fund new furniture and charging ports for students. Local police department will be able to buy new vehicles thanks to a donation. On Thursday, the Wyandotte Nation donated $40,000 to the Seneca Police Department. Officers are currently driving older cars, some of which have damage, including bullet holes. Another one of their patrol cars was recently totaled during a chase. Now the department will be able to get 2 new vehicles.
It's wonderful. I mean, we work with the Wyandotte Nation on a daily basis as far as police activity. They follow up with stuff. We follow up with them on both sides of the fence. I mean, we work together constantly. We're right here. It's no different than any other metro area, so to speak. We touch each other's jurisdiction.
The check presentation was held at the Wyandotte Nation Administration Building. Seneca police expect to get the new vehicles within the next 2 weeks. Indiana State Police identified the I-65 killer after an investigation that lasted more than 30 years. As Jasmine Miner reports, the break came through the use of investigative genealogy.
35 long years.
You might be able to hide for a while, but we're going to find you.
Harry Edward Greenwell is the man police say murdered Vicki Heath, Margaret Peggy Gill, Jean Gilbert, and assaulted another woman, all between 1987 and 1990.
So over the course of generations, there's detectives in this very room that have been involved in this in some form or another, literally for generations. And they're owed a debt of gratitude that we can never possibly repay.
Detectives say Greenwell had an extensive 35-year criminal history and died in Iowa in 2013.
Closure and justice may seem apparent or obvious in these cases now, but in many ways, these concepts are only beginning to take shape for those of us who have led our lives and had our lives turned upside down at the hand of this killer.
Kim Gilbert is the daughter of Jean Gilbert. Her mother was murdered at the Days Inn in Remington, Indiana. Police say the technique they used involves uploading a crime scene DNA profile to one or more genetic genealogy databases, all to identify a criminal offender's genetic relatives and locate the offender within their family tree.
The match was 99.9999% positive.
Police say the victim, who escaped from Greenwell at a Columbus Days Inn in January 1990, gave a detailed description of what he looked like.
The primary factors that linked these 4 crime scenes were their proximity to I-65, and for this obvious reason, the person was responsible for these murders was dubbed the I-65 killer.
Let us now begin the healing process in whatever way, shape, or form that may be for each of us.
FBI's gang response investigative team was also part of the investigation. Well, more than 20 years after they were first reported missing, a set of rare notebooks once belonging to Charles Darwin are found. Yes, the Charles Darwin are now back safe and sound at the UK's University of Cambridge. Notebooks thought to be worth millions were discovered missing from a university's special collection in 2001. Oh, this needed proofread. 2 decades later, after appealing publicly for info on the missing books, a package with a mysterious note anonymously showed up at the university library.
Surprise!
Inside were the precious notebooks, which contains some of Darwin's earliest notes on his theory of natural selection, including an 1837 sketch of the naturalist's famous Tree of Life. Historians at Cambridge say they are elated to have the treasures back, safe and sound.
Tree of Life. I was, folks, this is what I'm armed with. I get a rundown. It says Darwin. I was really hoping with it being opening day yesterday, this story would be about Danny Darwin.
Well, the first sentence in the story didn't tell me what was going on. It just said what the story was. So I was hoping I was right when I added in "are found."
Danny Darwin, you talk about Charles Darwin, way more important than Danny Darwin, but you talk about the Tree of Life. Danny Darwin's nickname was Dr. Death.
Oh, wow.
How about that? For those of you that remember the great Danny Darwin, the Bonham Bullet, Dr. Death, known for fighting his own teammates.
We're going to start a special segment called The 6 Degrees of Michael Hayslip. How everything is connected.
Don't you ever get Kevin Bacon mad at me again. Beautiful shot over 7th and Rangeline, where right now it is chilly, 40 degrees. Look at that wind chill now dropping down to 29 in Joplin. Earlier we had some light rain over Joplin. May not be done for the entire morning, but everything that we are seeing is really filtering south of I-44, making its way into northwest Arkansas. And you'll notice once it gets into the elevated portions of northwest Arkansas, does become a little snow. We do not have any travel concerns. You are going to want your jacket for today, as we'll only be up into the high 40s. Overnight, it is going to drop down below the freezing mark. Freeze warnings in effect until 8 a.m. on Saturday, and then we just flip the script. Mid-60s Saturday afternoon, close to 80 on Sunday. Back with more KOAM Morning News on Fox 14 right after this. Welcome back to the KOAM Morning News. We've got a great presentation that's coming up. Joplin High School is going to put on Little Mermaid, and we're fortunate enough this morning to have 2 of the key players take time out of their school schedules. Don't tell your teachers that you're doing this right now, okay? But we are fortunate enough to have Vivian Holt, who's there on your left, and Callie Hall there on your right. They're both sophomores and part of the upcoming presentation of The Little Mermaid at Joplin High School. Vivian and Callie, thank you so much for your time. Vivian, I want to start with you. What has it been like coming off post-pandemic? And I don't want to call you a child. You're a young woman. But the past 2.5 years of your life have taken you from junior high into high school during this pandemic phase. What is it like to be back up on stage and to be able to welcome people into a theater setting?
It's great having big audiences back. It's really great having another just group of people that I didn't have before. Yeah.
No, that's perfect. I can kind of see the excitement coming out of you right there. Callie, as far as when they put out the schedule and whatnot, is there something that attracted you to The Little Mermaid? Did you say, hey, I have a certain role in mind? Callie happens to play Alana in the upcoming performance right there. Is there something that you were like, yes, this is a thing I want to be a part of, and if so, why?
Well, usually I am part of the musical every year. I do a lot of theater, so when I heard we were doing The Little Mermaid, I was like, oh, that's such a fun show, so I obviously wanted to do it, and it's just a great show overall, so it was just a definite yes for me. I didn't really have a specific character I wanted to be in mind. I just wanted to be a part of it because it's so fun.
I find it interesting that this is one of the most popular Disney movies, and so I have to ask you, now that you're young women in high school, did either of you watch this when you were children growing up?
I did not, but I listened to the soundtrack, and I do love that.
Okay,
Yeah,
Callie, did you watch it as a child?
No, yeah, I definitely did a lot. And so do my siblings. I have a lot of siblings, and we all really enjoy the movie.
So this is very interesting. Callie, is it one of those things where you were, and Vivian, I want to get your perspective on this too. Callie, coming off of watching the movie, what were some of the differences that you noticed in the transition from the movie that you were familiar with to taking Alana and putting her on stage?
Well, it is really different from the movie because in the movie, you don't really see a lot of the Ariel sisters, the Mer sisters, but when we put the musical on stage, it includes a lot more character moments that are able to show more of the sisters and just tell more of the story in general.
And so, Vivian, that's interesting from your perspective because you kind of come in with a blank slate, per se, with maybe not so many preconceived ideas as far as what the movie was like. When you get up there, how are you trying to interpret your role and kind of convey that, knowing that probably the majority of the audience has in fact watched the movie?
Well, like we do know that like whenever like Ariel like falls in love and whatever, like all of her sisters are like kind of annoyed by her.
So I have to ask the both of you this as we get ready for the performance here. What was your favorite part? I know the hard work and effort that you two have put into this, and not only you two, your entire cast, not only what you'll see on the stage, but also behind the scenes, and God bless the work of your fine directors and everybody there at the high school as well. What's been the most fun part of this journey leading up to opening night?
Well, I think for me, my favorite part has just been able to perform and tell a story in this whole story because it's such a great movie, and having people see that story on stage and us being able to retell that to such a big audience is really fun for me.
And Vivian, I want you to answer that as well. What has been the most fun for you?
Being able to like what Callie said, like being able to put on this great performance, but also because I'm doing it with all of my closest friends, and we all have a very closer bond after the rehearsal process.
Vivian, I tell you what, I'm so glad that you hammered home that point right there, because as much as us parents and us community members love watching you, that's television, folks. That's what happens on the overhead announcement. You guys are doing great. No, Vivian, what I was going to say is I love the fact that you hammered home the point that as a community and a theater stage troupe that you all come together. I want to thank Vivian Holt and Callie Hall once again. And so just, hey, before you guys get out of here, I want to remind everybody that it's coming up April 7th through the 9th. Performances start at 7 p.m. and you can find a link to buy tickets. You can get them at the door, but also too, we'll make sure that we have a link at KOAMnewsnow.com on this interview. I want to thank the two of you. I know you've got to get back to school because that overhead announcement is like, telling me you guys have classes to do. But thank you so much. And Vivian and Callie, whenever we do an interview like this, I like to finish it off one way. Break a leg.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll be back with more KOAM Morning News right after this.
Deadly car accidents have been on the rise, and a new report shows more pedestrians are being killed. Danya Bacchus reports from Los Angeles.
This surveillance video shows two sisters walking on a Florida sidewalk last month. Just seconds later, one of them was hit and killed while trying to cross the street.
It's tragic. It's awful. I don't know. I want it to stop. I want this to never happen again.
Unfortunately, these types of accidents are becoming more common. Pedestrian deaths have been on the rise for a decade, and a new report shows more than 3,400 people were killed in the first 6 months of 2021, a 17% jump from the previous year.
The report confirms what we've been saying for many, many years, and that is we have a pedestrian safety crisis in this country.
Pam Shadell Fisher is with the Governor's Highway Safety Association that published the report. She says the rise in pedestrian deaths coincides with a surge in dangerous driving, including speeding.
You have that mix of speeding vehicles with people on foot. The higher the speeds, the more likely they are to be killed and injured.
Another factor, Americans are driving larger vehicles like SUVs and trucks that are more likely than cars to kill a pedestrian. And most of these accidents happen at night.
We need better lighting, so the more visible we can make them, the better.
Many modern streets are wide with longer blocks, and people tend to run across where they shouldn't. The Department of Transportation is now dedicating billions of dollars to making changes for safer road designs, including more crosswalks, bike lanes, and better lighting. Changes that could make the roads safer for everyone. Danya Bacchus, CBS News, Los Angeles.
We'll be right back with more after this, but first let's take a look at the market prices before the opening bell.
There's a new Lego Star Wars game that lets players relive the entire Skywalker saga in any order that you choose. Our main man, Rick Demigella, has the story from a galaxy so far, far away.
Pew, 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 pew. The circle is now complete. When I left you, I was but the learner. Now I am the master.
The saga is now complete, Darth, with the arrival of LEGO Star Wars The Skywalker Saga.
Hello there. This is kind of the next generation of LEGO video game. The folks over at TT Games have built lots and lots of LEGO adventures over the years. But what we haven't seen before is the breadth and the scope and the ambition in this title. You can literally go to any location you can think of from the 9 core Skywalker saga movies from the Star Wars universe.
I need someone to show me my place in all this.
There is some freedom, but there is some absolute structure and adherence to the, the moments, all done with a sense of levity and tongue-in-cheek kind of humor all the way through it.
How did my father die?
Reach out. There is voice dialogue, but they also allow you to have the old classic gibberish versions of these Lego characters. So you can drop all the voice acting if you prefer the classic style Lego video game experience. And it's really joyful. And one of the best things about it too is the ability to share this experience and play cooperatively.
Remember, the Force will be with you always.
Leveling up in Hollywood, I'm Rick Damigella.
Be back with one final check on your forecast when the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14 returns right after this.
Welcome back to the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. Here's what's happening today. The Senate approved Judge Ketanji Brown Jackson's confirmation to the Supreme Court. Jackson, who will take the seat of Justice Stephen Breyer when he retires in the summer, will become the nation's first black woman Supreme Court justice. All Democrats voted in favor, while just 3 Republicans broke party ranks to support Jackson. She'll replace Justice Stephen Breyer when he retires this summer, like I just said. The UN General Assembly voted to suspend Russia from the organization's leading human rights body over allegations of atrocities in Ukraine. The horrific images of civilians killed in Bucha prompted widespread outrage, but Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky says the situation in neighboring town Bordianka is even worse. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi has tested positive for COVID-19 a day after attending an event with President Biden unmasked. Her spokesman said the 82-year-old is vaccinated and boosted and has no symptoms. Let's check in with Michael with a final look at your forecast.
All right, Tanya, a chilly morning and really not much of a warm-up because of our cloudy skies. And remember, the key factor is overnight. After sunset, we drop down below the freezing mark. Freeze warnings, widespread patchy frost for a Friday night into Saturday morning. Now, Saturday afternoon and Sunday, absolutely delightful. So really, just about, oh, I'd say 24 more hours of cold temperatures.
Well, they're big, they're loud, and right now they're occupying floating docks in Ballard, Seattle. Sea lions, they've claimed the waters off of Seattle's Shills Hole Bay. Experts with NOAA say they're not sure why the large animals are hanging out there, but they do say the marine mammals are in the area fattening up before heading towards Southern California to mate. For the last few months, these sea lions have been easily seen and heard off of the docks, putting on quite a show for people who come to see it. Have you ever been to see the sea lions in San Diego?
I have actually petted a sea lion on a rocky cliff one time.
That's cool.
And a little bit scary.
Was it? Was there more bite than bark, or just the bark?
No, you could tell that they were interested. Thanks for letting us put the good in your morning. Be back here at noon.
Have a great morning and an even better day.